If you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
Hello, and welcome to the Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Tabruggi, and joining me this week is Sprout from the Sprout and Dusty Show. How you doing, Sprout?
I'm doing very well today. How about yourself, Ricky?
Doing all right. Enjoyed a little bit of rain earlier today, but sunny again, so hey.
Hey, a little bit of rain, pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so you do the Sprout and Dusty Show. Why don't you give us some background on that show?
Well, the Sprout and Dusty Show is a podcast about arts, culture, society. We like having people on our show as guests, and we make sure our guests have some sort of interesting type of twist to them. Mm-hmm. You know, things that everybody could relate to. We interview pretty much everybody from musicians and mixed martial artists. We've had a real live barbecue champion and pizza chef on our show. Cool. People from all different walks of life. We just thought that was a good idea to do. And, cool. We started the podcast basically out of boredom and not wanting to be stagnant in our music careers due to COVID-19 and the quarantine and everything. So we've had fun with it.
That's cool. And speaking of your music career, I understand you are in a band called King Shifter.
Yes, I am. Yes.
You want to kind of give us some background on King Shifter and the genre of music you guys do? And
some people call it stoner doom or stoner rock, but we call it just good old rock and roll, hard rock, and it's more along those lines. We toured from 2010 to 2015, and we just pretty much reunited, and we just released a vinyl EP. It was our vinyl LP, sorry. And it's got our first EP on it, plus 4 bonus songs that were never released on anything. So cool. We're putting those funds together and getting new songs written and getting ready to get back on the road when things get back and running and clubs and bars are starting to open up.
Right. Yeah, before the show, I listened to one of your guys' songs, "Peace of Mind." That was a good song. So you guys, want to check it out, you can go on to YouTube and look up King Shifter and listen to some of their tracks there. And are you guys like on iTunes or Spotify or anything like that?
Yes, you can find us on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube. Those are the CD Baby. You can find us pretty much anywhere. You can download anything digitally. You could also find our physical copies off of Amazon and various places as well.
Oh, cool. Now, if somebody was interested in getting your guys' vinyl LP, where would they go to track that down?
All they have to do is go to Facebook. The link is facebook.com/KingShifterRock. Okay. And right on the front page, there's a link to buy the album. So
awesome. So anybody interested in doing that, check that out. And check out his Sprout and Dusty podcast also. I'm going to have to check that one out and see what it's like.
Oh, yeah, man. We have a really good time. And we're not too wild and crazy. We just we like learning from our guests. I think that's one of the fun things about the show for me, because we're always interviewing somebody different from ourselves. So it's really cool to sit down and have a conversation with those people.
Yeah, typically we like to have guests on here too, but we're kind of in a transition and things. So we'll get the guests back in, and on that note, anybody that would like to be a guest, if you have a missing family member that you'd like to talk about on the show, go ahead and get a hold of me here at Kansas Missing and Unsolved, and we'll get you on. Or if you're a law enforcement officer and you'd be interested in being on the show, that's great too. Go ahead and get a hold of me here too, and we'll get you on as well. And with that being said, are we ready to get on to getting into some cases?
I believe so.
Okay.
The National Runaway Safe Line is here to listen and here to help. Speak to someone specifically trained in crisis prevention who won't tell you what to do. Join a forum where you can post your questions, thoughts, or concerns about what it is like to be a teenager or a parent. If there is something you have been wondering about, please ask, because chances are there are a lot of other people wondering the same thing. Remember, you are not alone. Go online to 1-800-RUNAWAY.org or call 1-800-789-2626.
And you want to start us off tonight, Sprout?
Yes, our first case is Angela Green, missing from Prairie Village, Kansas. She's been missing since June 19, 2019, and at the time of disappearance, she was age 51, and she is now 52 years of age. Her height is 5 foot 9 inches tall. She weighs 116 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. Angela Green was missing from Prairie Village, Kansas on June 19, 2019. There have been conflicting reports as to what happened to her, as well as where Angela is. Angela's daughter was told to her by her dad that Angela had passed away in July of a stroke, but she is not sure of this. Police have gotten some conflicting statements about her whereabouts that are a little concerning to them as well. Police say that they are treating Green's case as a missing persons investigation and are working with several other agencies to try and locate her. At the time of her disappearance, Angela was 51 years old. She is now 52. If you have any information regarding Angela's disappearance or know of her whereabouts, please call Prairie Village, Kansas Police Department at 913-642-6868 or the Crime Stoppers Tips hotline at 816-474-8477.
And for our next case is Lashea Stein. She's missing from Aurora, Colorado. She went missing on July 15, 2016. At the time of her disappearance, she was 16 years old. She would now be 20. She was 5 foot 6 inches tall and weighs 145 pounds. She has black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen on surveillance video near a bus stop in the 1600 block of North Peoria Street at 2:23 in the morning. It is believed she left her home at that time to meet someone but never returned home. Information indicates that Lashea may have recently been in the Kansas City, Missouri area. She may have been trafficked to that area. Again, she was 16 years old at the time of her disappearance. She would now be 20. 5 foot 6 inches tall, weighs 145 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Lashea's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call Detective Chris Pope with the Aurora, Colorado Police Department at 303-739-6130. There is a $6,000 reward for information leading to Lashea's safe return.
Our next missing person is Mustafa El Gindi, missing from Overland Park, Kansas, and he's been missing since August 2nd, 2020. He is 42 years of age. Height is 5 feet 11 inches tall. His weight is 260 pounds. Black hair and balding, and with brown eyes. Mustafa El Gindi went missing from Overland Park, Kansas on August 2nd, 2020. Mustafa was last seen around 8:45 p.m. Sunday near 62nd and Marty Streets in Overland Park, Kansas. Mustafa is diabetic and needs his insulin. He was last seen wearing a blue light shirt, blue-green camouflage shorts, and black shoes. If you have any information regarding Mustafa's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call your local law enforcement agency or the Overland Park, Kansas Police Department at 913-895-6300 or call the KBI at 785-296-4017.
Okay, and for our next case, Mary Georgine Lang. She's missing from Hays, Kansas. She's been missing since October 21st, 1983. At the time of her disappearance, she was 31 years old. She would now be 67. She was 5 foot 7 inches tall, weighs 124 pounds. She had light brown hair and blue eyes. Mary was last seen in downtown Hays around 1 p.m. on October 21st, 1983. She was working as a secretary for a local attorney and was running errands for him when she disappeared. At 5 p.m., her maroon and gray 1977 Datsun 280Z was found in the 200 block of East 12th. The door was slightly ajar, and Lang's purse and legal papers were on the front seat. There was no sign of Lang at the scene. Her car keys and coat were found 5 days later inside a box under a bridge on a county road about 10 miles northwest of Hayes. At the time of her disappearance, Mary was wearing a black turtleneck sweater, tan skirt, and brown boots. She also wore contact lenses that may have been tinted blue. Mary was declared legally dead 7 years after her disappearance. Foul play is suspected in her case, which remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding Mary Lang's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Ellis County Sheriff's Office at 785-625-1040 or the Hayes, Kansas Police Department at 785-625-1011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017.
This missing person is Justice Hernandez, missing from Topeka, Kansas since June 13, 2020. She is 17 years of age. She is 5'6" tall, weighs 120 pounds, and has brown hair and brown eyes. Justice Hernandez is a missing endangered runaway who went missing from Topeka, Kansas on June 13, 2020. If you have any information regarding Justice's disappearance or know of her whereabouts, please call the Topeka, Kansas Police Department at 785-368-9247 or 785-368-9551 or 785-368-9200 or the KBI at 785-296-4017.
And I do believe we've covered Justice in a previous show, but we were covering it again tonight as a request by someone that wanted it to be covered again. So that's why we were covering it again tonight. Our next case is an unsolved homicide. Artist Jack Bumpus died after answering a knock at the door on April 8th, 2000. The murder case of Artist Bumpus remains unsolved, and Wichita police say they've never had a solid lead. Jack still dabbled on the wrong side of the law after his release from prison as one member of a group of men running a small gambling house in North Wichita. The house at 19th and Volusia was rented solely for the purpose of gambling. Investigators believe it was about 3:20 a.m. when a man knocked on the door to go into the house. Jack was the doorman. When he opened the door, a man came running around the corner of the house with a gun. Jack was struck and died on the porch of the house. The shooter never came into the house, but did rob Jack after he was shot. The stray bullet hit another man in the house, but that man survived. Jack's niece, Sherry Gilkey King, remembers her Uncle Jack as being fun and making his family laugh. If you have any information to help solve this case, you can call the Wichita Police Department at 316-268-4407 or leave an anonymous tip with the Crime Stoppers by calling 316-267-2111. So, Brad, have you heard of Jack Bumpus's case being that you're from Wichita?
No, I haven't. I was living there at the time. It seemed like so much happened in that time period that a lot of things seem to go by the wayside. I'm glad they're picking up this story 20 years later. But the story was intriguing to me. One of the things they mentioned was, he was at a gambling house when he was murdered. Mm-hmm. I know that in that area, I grew up in that neighborhood basically. And there were a lot of gambling houses. There were a lot of places that sold kind of quote unquote bootleg alcohol when the liquor store was closed. It was a places you can go after hours to get alcohol. Right. There's always those types of places. There are drug houses. And those are three places that I know personally that in that neighborhood are just subject to being robbed. And, it seems like there needs to be a little bit more attention on the crimes that actually happen there in these situations. And so I'm really, really touched by the story, and I really want this family to get some justice. They lost a family member, they lost a friend, a brother, justice needs to happen some way, regardless of who he was.
Right. I agree.
I know what it's like to have a family member murdered and all of us in the family wanting justice and closure. I had a cousin, and then he was murdered in a home invasion in 1998. Him and his girlfriend were murdered, and their little baby was left in the crib alive.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was not a good situation. So when of the people that done this, they got caught. ultimately basically convicted under the RICO Act.
Okay.
You know, my cousin, he was a funny guy. He had a sense of humor. He loved running track and field. He loved his jokes. He did get in some trouble in his life, but you know, when he got murdered, he really was on his way to making his life better. He got a job as a welder. You know, he was providing for his family, and it just turns out that his girlfriend would, you know, basically let these guys in the house while he was at work. I'm almost positive he really probably didn't know that this was going on.
Right.
Well, while he was at work, she's letting these guys in the house, and they're sitting there planning robberies and burglaries and stick-ups and things like that. And so one or two of them got caught, and I believe his girlfriend turned state's witness. And so a group of gentlemen, I wouldn't even call them that, but they went into their house and shot them both dead.
Wow. Was it random, or were they targeted specifically, or do you know?
His girlfriend was targeted specifically. He probably didn't know anything that was going on. He was at work, you know, and I'm not sure how much he knew about the actual court case his girlfriend was involved in. That'll never be known, but that's what happened. Ultimately, one of the people that were a part of the crew that broke into their home to murder them got caught on something else, and he basically, you know, got caught up. The police were on the case for a long time anyway, so they did a good job in bringing justice. And I know it takes a while too, man. It really does take a while for the police to do their job and make sure the prosecution gets everything in a row. You know, dot the I's, cross the T's, all that. Make sure there's no loopholes the defense can use to absolutely,
you know, get an acquittal.
And that patience was worth it. It really was worth it in the end.
Yeah, because a lot of times you hear, you know, families in similar situations, they don't feel like it comes fast enough, or they don't feel like the police are doing enough or doing their jobs quick enough. And, you know, like I say, it takes patience, because, you know, they got to make sure everything's the way it needs to be done to be able to present it in court to get that conviction. You know, it does take
absolutely time. The process, especially when you're emotional, is very irritating. I was a senior in high school when this happened, and it was very irritating for me because this was the first time somebody that close to me got murdered.
Right.
And you know, all I could care about at that time, not understanding how the justice system worked, you know, just like, why don't they just go get these guys? You know,
right.
I was this kid who watched television. Well, aren't cops smart enough to do? Yes, they are, but it does take patience. You know? Let them do their job, and you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sprout, for doing our show tonight, and I'm really glad that your family did get justice in that case, because there's a lot of cases out there that families are still waiting, and it's been, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're still waiting, you know. And I
hope people speak up for Jack Bumpus. I really do. You know, somebody knows something, you know, time's passed. Hopefully your conscience gets to you. If you're hearing this right now, do the right thing, turn yourself in. Own up to that. A man's life was taken. So
definitely. Yeah. And again, I want to thank you for doing the show tonight. And again, how can people tune in and listen to the Sprout and Dusty show?
We stream live every Friday night at 7:30 Central. And you can catch our live stream on Facebook and Twitch and Twitter. You can catch it in a few places. I'll if you find us on Facebook, and you'll find all that information. You can find us on Twitter. We have a Twitter page and things like that. We're really branching out on streaming right now. So those are just a few places where our shows are being streamed live. But if you can't catch it live, you can always catch replays and audio on Spotify. You can actually catch the cast on YouTube. And I think that's about it right now. So,
right. And also you can check out the Back Home Media website, backhomemedia.com, where you can check out this show, the Sprout and Dusty Show, and many other shows that Back Home Media produces. And if you'd like to become a show sponsor for Kansas Missing and Unsolved, you can go to patreon.com/KMUpod, and you can donate there if you feel like you want to help us out and support us. Again, thank you, Sprout, for joining the show tonight. Appreciate having you here. And everybody out there, have a good night. Stay safe, and God bless.
good night.
Well, I don't think it, I thought it, that's different. I said what I said and I meant it, or lamented. Words given weight without thought, and a person the way that I talk and the way that I ought to be able to pause and to say that the fault can be placed on my arm, to this playful assault, to disgrace in this arm. Pray for the day they could wait for the calm. You can't control the storm, only weather it, whether it's 5 weeks and 5 days of rain sideways, or scorched earth, search for death, or water left with all the thorns, with the petals gone, settle on the breath of autumn. If the crown fits, wear it, the crown fits. If the crown fits,